Yeah, she's
Yeah.
vice presidential candidate.
No, she's going to be vice president. But that's
Oh,
what she's
yeah.
going to do next.
No, I meant after she serves her term.
Oh, okay.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Another episode of the Unruly Hour with Savage Joy. Tonight I am joined by two fellow Pennsylvanians, and shout out to Jenna if she's watching. She's probably waiting with bated breath here to tune in. So I have Michael. How do you say it correctly?
Bagdis Canning.
Bagdis Canning. Okay. And then I have Jay Walker. So both of them are Green candidates in PA. Mike, you are running in 64, and Jay, you are
23.
23. So that's pretty exciting for Pennsylvanians to actually have people that they're excited for, because it seems like we don't really get that many. Hey, Sarah. So first, today was the last day to register to vote in PA. So how has that been going for you guys? Have you gotten a fair number of people registered?
I'll say, so there are a lot of universities in my district, and there's definitely people who are like, oh, I'm registered elsewhere, and then they'll like read the literature and they're like, but I'm updating my registration to here to vote for you. So definitely there's been examples of that. I carry paper registration forms with me. I've done a lot of talking to voters on the street, so I always have it ready. So I've definitely registered, a handful of people here and there. But in general, registration numbers in my district are higher than average, that's for sure.
Nice. And you are in Pittsburgh area.
Yeah, I'm in the east end of Pittsburgh, Squirrel Hill in Oakland, Shadyside, Greenfield, Point Breeze.
And then Michael, where are you exactly?
I'm in what's called the oil region, which is where the oil industry started, I'm about maybe an hour and a half north of Jay, part of Butler County and all of Venango County.
Okay, Butler, I know where that is. So Luke Landis is in the comments. He said, Michael is awesome, just saying. And there's Jenna, my boo. So today is the last day to register. If you're in PA, register today or you cannot vote. And again, general is the one time when it doesn't matter what party you are. That's a whole other story. So before we get into your individual campaigns, as Pennsylvanians, we got a big old fuck you when they took Greens off our ballot. So the first thing I wanted to do was make sure that people like yourselves were still on the ballot, and it was just the presidential Greens that were being taken off. So you guys are still on, thankfully, but what was your response when you find out? Well, first of all, for those who don't know, it was Angela Walker that they primarily did dirty because she moved during when the paperwork was being filled out, and they said that it was a misrepresentation of an address. So it was just total bullshit.
Wait, I got to interrupt. That's what happened in Wisconsin. Our situation in Pennsylvania was different.
It was even slimier.
Yeah, it was worse here.
Oh no.
So both as state representative candidates, both Michael and myself were kind of intimately part of our parties getting on the ballot. And Michael was physically there. So I'll let him speak to some of that.
Well, first of all, it was amazing. We needed to have 5,000 signatures to get our presidential and vice presidential candidate on the ballot. And we had over 8,000, which you would think that would be more than enough, and that the Democrats wouldn't even bother to challenge, but they did. And what they basically challenged with was that we had 7,000 forgeries or something along those lines. That was the first baloney line. But anyway, we got them in plenty of time. we had an amazing, I can't remember how many sheets there were, but there were tons and tons of sheets. A lot of the signatures were in the Pittsburgh area, because Pittsburgh's like notorious for how, not notorious, but just known for how valid the signatures often are. But anyway, we brought them and we needed to have certain paperwork. And amongst the things we needed was candidate affidavits. And the problem wasn't that, you can help me out here, Jay, but the problem wasn't that Angela didn't have an affidavit. It was our stand-in vice presidential candidate who did not have an affidavit. And the reason we had a stand-in was because we didn't have a candidate when the petitions first started to get circulated. So I mean, and it's ridiculous. And Jay, add to it.
Yeah. So there's a variety of things. One, we're petitioning during COVID. So, you know, every Green Party across the country had, suddenly they needed to file a lawsuit because there were stay-at-home orders, yet our states were still telling us that we need to get in-person petitions to be able to get on the ballot. So we lost our lawsuit. Pennsylvania Democrats argued that there was no difference in gathering signatures during a stay-at-home order, and we should have been gathering signatures during the red phase, which is like complete BS. And then on top of that, the state offices where we had to file our paperwork weren't even open. Everyone was working from home. So we had to schedule a specific time to bring the paperwork in. And a lot of states, including Pennsylvania, were taking documents by email, by mail, by fax. So they told us we could fax a document in, and we did it. We followed exactly what the Department of State said, and they testified to this during the hearing. We did exactly what they said. They checked with their attorneys. Everything was good. They said our filing was perfectly good. And then suddenly the Pennsylvania State Democratic Party said we didn't follow the letter of the law. And then again, we won the court case, and then they appealed to the Supreme Court, which is super partisan. And it was just on party lines. They voted that, you know, we're going to kick the Green Party off the ballot. No consideration of coronavirus, no consideration of what the Department of State told us. Basically, they said the Department of State messed up, and that's too bad. We did everything right. And, you know, Michael talked about the substitute candidate and making sure that we had the affidavit for them. The Democrats and the media are spinning it as we tried to gather signatures for two different candidates, which is complete BS. We did everything right. We've done it before, you know, so we have a lot of experience in our Green Party, and we made sure we dotted all our I's, crossed all our T's. We did everything correctly, despite what the accusations online by the Democratic Party that we didn't know how to do our paperwork or we didn't have the signatures. That was all crap. We did everything right, and we still got kicked off the ballot. And, you know, I'm new to the party. I wasn't here in 2016. That really revealed the state of our system right now in our democracy. While, you know, there's a lot of cries about voter suppression that are legitimate, our entire office, our right to run, we were removed from the ballot, and everyone is bending over backwards to make it out to be our fault. And it's just like, this is the kind of thing that like makes you a Green for life. Like, so many people were involved in validating the thousands and thousands of signatures. We checked to make sure every single one of them was associated with a voter, a real life voter who is registered as what they said. So there were like 50 volunteers involved, thousands, like hundreds of volunteer hours. And all of those people, all that effort was wasted for nothing, like for lies. And all those people are going to be Greens for life because they understand what the Democratic Party games are.
And the other thing was too that one of their people even pretty much said that the entire reason for doing it was to bankrupt us. I mean, and really, in a lot of ways, it did. I mean, you know, those kind of challenges cost big bucks, so it was just slimy all around.
Right, and also, you know, the naysayers will say, well, they weren't even on the ballot in PA last time. They're not viable.
And the same thing across the country, like, oh, the Green Party is not on the ballot, or like they've been in decline. There was a global pandemic this year. When people say these things about our party, it's 95% in bad faith, you know, 95%. So the way I respond to bad faith, I tell them the truth. I turn the other cheek. I just, you know, we have the upper ground morally and like functionally. So I just like drop knowledge on them. I'm not trying to attack them. I'm not trying to, you know, and I'm like, look, you're constantly pushing the goalposts because you're clearly just hate my party, and you're not actually you don't actually believe the argument that you're making. You're just trying to find whatever you can you're just throwing shit at a wall and hoping something sticks, basically.
Absolutely. So do you think, a part of it seems like, one of the reasons is not just the disdain for third parties, but also because so many uneducated people blame the Greens for not having Queen Hillary still.
Yeah. Despite any science or anything else, I'd love to take credit for causing that problem. I wish we were so powerful that we could do that, but the unfortunate thing is we aren't. We've been held back a lot of ways. So yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I mean, I guess I contributed. I didn't vote for Hillary, so but Pennsylvania didn't
charged,
lose
yeah.
by 3 votes.
One last thing. Not only did all these things happen, but we were blamed for delaying the mail-in ballots. Like, that's another thing. It's like, look, guys, it's just like the amount of days that the mail-in ballots were delayed, I feel like more than counteract any goals they could have possibly picked up by like people not knowing their options. Because that's what they're doing. Anyone who knows their options, we can write Howie Hawkins and Angela Walker in, no problem.
Absolutely.
It's just the fact that they keep people in the dark about what their options really are. That's the entire effort. And it's like, was that worth delaying the mail-in ballots by like half a week?
Absolutely. And that's another thing that brings up another good point. When the date was announced that Pennsylvania no longer had presidential Greens on the ballot, you see all these shit libs and blue checks. Yes, just totally anti-democratic. And they literally convinced themselves that means Greens are going to vote Biden. It is so just incredible to me. Like, what's your reaction when people say, well, good, then Biden will get more votes?
Yeah, the day that happened, I was actually at one of their indivisible meetings. I was there pitching my candidacy, and first of all, I mean, the first thing they said was, we got some really, really good news today. The Hawkins, the Green Party, didn't even know who the Green Party candidate was. The Green Party candidate got kicked off the ballot. That means that Biden will have a clearer shot to win Pennsylvania. It's like,
It's so ridiculous. Like, you know what, you guys? I can't maths. So even though libertarians got way more votes, it's your fault. It's so incredible.
This is an interesting thing. I was in a similar. Looks like I'm lagging. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry. I'm in a similar space to like what Michael just described with the Indivisible group, like grassroots Democratic campaigners who are kind of blind towards all the dark side of their party. And it was really interesting seeing them deal with the news, because they know me. I've been in that group for a long time. I've always been a proud Green. I've always fought with them on the issues. They know where I stand. And like to see them kind of try to wrap their head around the fact that such an anti-democratic thing happened, yet they are like secretly want it. It was like they were bending over backwards and like they were like, oh yeah, it's the Green Party's fault. But the tenor of the conversation was completely different, because most people who attack Greens, they don't know any Greens. All they know is like maybe like one person on Twitter who like they don't know personally. But it's like because I have a personal connection with so many of these people, and they know that I'm fighting harder than they are on every single issue, and they respect my work. It's like they're really trying to like navigate their kind of like, I don't know, internal drama about like, we like Jay, he's fighting the good fight. He got totally screwed here. There are lies being spread about him, our friend Jay. But like our people are telling us that this is good and like we got to get Trump out. And I don't know, it was just really interesting watching people navigate it. And honestly, like all the work, all the time I spent getting to know them seemed to pay off. They're all like so sorry that this happened, and they know that I'm so passionate about it. And that like how unfair it is. They can recognize how unfair it is. It's like completely different from the online Democrat that's like, stupid Green Party, only show up every 4 years. What are you even doing? You're Republicans, you're Russian. Like all of those talking points is just such a stark disparity when these people are working hard, like when we talk about like hit the phones, liberals, these people are the ones doing that work, actually doing it every day. And like the respect that I got from them was like, it was nice. It was nice, in like a dark time for me. I was really upset when I found out about that.
Absolutely.
I had a similar experience. I just wanted to say, except for mine had a different ending in that my folks, the indivisible group that I was with, would not endorse me, even though I've been a member of their group for a long time, because again, they didn't want to fuel the green thing. So,
well, endorsements is a totally different question. That's like right out.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about being treated like a human. That's like, this is the bar right now for the Green Party. Like, I want liberals to treat me like a human being and not a robot and not a terrorist and not someone who's like, I don't care about poor people. It's like the Green Party is poor people, right? What are you talking about? Like, that's what I just want to be treated like someone who can participate in a democracy. And like, we're not there right now when we're talking about like oppression from the Democratic Party and Democratic voters.
Absolutely. And, I said on Twitter the other day, like at this point, the only undecided voter is not Biden or Trump. It's whether or not they should vote at all. That's what they're deciding. And if you take Greens off the ballot, there's a very good chance that now down ballot Dems will not get those votes, because I'm not voting for Biden, but I'm voting for progressives. So if you know what I mean, you're taking away that option. So some people just might not vote at all. So they're screwing themselves, honestly. And so, as Pennsylvanians, I know I have my opinion. Who do you think is going to win our state? Do you think it will be Biden or Trump? Not what do you want, but who do you think will?
Judging from what I see around me, you'd think that it would be Trump, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Where I live in a rural section, and almost everywhere I go, all you see are Trump signs. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I feel like it's really bubble dependent. Like it's hard to get a real read on the state. Pennsylvania is a large state. Like anyone who speaks like they know Pennsylvanians, I do not believe them. I don't trust them. Just like this fracking conversation, right?
Yes.
Like people talk about like everyone in Pennsylvania loves fracking. It's like, that's not what the polls show. That's not what conversations in Trump country show too. But in terms of who's going to win this November, I think Biden's going to win. And I think it's like in the past couple of months, I don't know. It just seems like the wheels have been falling off the Trump train. Like, I don't know. And again, I'm in a bubble. I'm in a bubble for sure. Like I live in Pittsburgh. It's an urban area. I try to get out of it, and I try not to let it bias me. But, it's I don't know. It's because it's right now we have two different worlds. It's very clear that there are two completely different worlds that intersect like across a countertop, at like a store. But other than that, they don't intersect at all. They're like two separate, completely different cultures almost.
I don't know if I agree with that so much, just because I think that there's one issue. I just did an Instagram thing about this. I think there's one issue where we all come together, and that is a general distrust of our government. I think I saw some poll, 83% of us distrust our government. And I think that's why Trump won last time, because there's such a distrust. In Butler County and Venango County, where I live in Butler, but in Venango County, which is just a stone's throw away from where I live, in the last primary, Hillary Clinton didn't win, and none of the incumbent, none of the mainstream Democrats, Republicans won. It was Trump and Bernie Sanders who won the primaries. And so it was a change election. And I think the same dynamics in place here. I think people just want a government they can trust. And I'm not sure that Biden at this point is that person. I'm not sure that Trump is at this point either. People are disappointed with the whole thing he's done with COVID. So, yeah, I don't know. But who knows? I don't.
I think Trump's gonna win PA. I hope I'm wrong. Not that I want Biden to win. It's like in 16. You don't want Trump to win, but you want Hillary to lose. That it's the same thing now. It's like, I don't want either one of them, but yeah, what a clusterfuck. So Jay, I was gonna get to the fracking thing as well. Jenna and I were going over this, and just like people were all over Twitter acting like they're in Pennsylvania and they can speak for us. And it's like, no, us in Pennsylvania, like I live in Harrisburg, so I've protested Governor Wolf countless times about fracking and pipelines, and I know Mike said he has as well. And this is speaking as actual Pennsylvanians. So what was your reaction when you see our state trending yet again and people saying that we want fracking here?
I think he was asking you, Jay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, first of all, I want to say I live in Pennsylvania, but Pennsylvania is a large and diverse state. So I would never pretend to speak for Pennsylvanians. I can speak for some Pennsylvanians. I can like dispute things that are said about our state that are like, that is a falsehood. But like, I could never speak for someone that lives where Michael lives, right? I can only speak, I mean, I can't even speak for everyone that lives here. My district is very diverse. I'm just like not the type of person to presume to speak for other people. I want to represent them, but like their actual selves, not like my picture of who they are or something like that. So I want to say that. But yeah, I don't know. Like people are talking about fracking in Pennsylvania, like we're a monolith. And I mean, the polls just that doesn't pan out in the polls. So it's like, it's as if they're not talking about the truth, right? They're talking about this idea. And I mean, hey, all conversations about fracking, there's like lots of lies from the industry, from our representatives, all of that stuff. So yeah, the polls just don't play out in the way that people talk about the state. The political conversation that's happening about our state at the national level is not the conversation that's happening at people's kitchen tables. It's just like the CNN, Fox News, like 50 million satellite conversation is not the same conversation that's happening in our districts, in our state. That's all.
And I can say, speaking from the shale fields, Butler County is one of Pennsylvania's most heavily fracked counties. And this is what I've been doing for the last 10 years is working in communities that have been fracked. It's not like there's an overwhelming majority of people that are benefiting from fracking in these communities. I mean, there are some people that are, but there are also a lot of people that are harmed. We have a community in Butler County that's been without water for 10 years. Once a week, they go to a White Oak Springs Presbyterian Church to pick up 20 to 25 gallons of water. I guarantee those people are not for fracking. And there's lots of other people that are breathing crappy air, and they send their kids, like my grandkids, go to a school that's less than a half mile from a frack well. I'm not excited about that. I'm sure their parents aren't excited about it either. And there's lots of other parents in that school that aren't. So yeah, this notion that Pennsylvanians are overwhelmingly in favor of fracking is just pure bullshit.
So. You know who is overwhelmingly in favor of fracking, though? Like I said, it's like 50-50 basically about fracking. But the representatives is like 95% of our representatives are super in favor of fracking. They argue about how much it should be taxed, how much revenue should generate for the state. But the amount of people who are like, oh, fracking is giving our kids cancer. Oh, fracking is going to ruin the lives of future generations. Oh, fracking is ruining the lives of entire towns' water supplies. That's like such a small percentage. And it's like 50% of people hold an opinion in our state. 95% of the representatives hold that opposite opinion. And it's like, now we can see what's happening in our democracy. It's not representative. And even places that, people in Squirrel Hill, they're like, I don't like fracking. But I think people in Washington County, again, people in Squirrel Hill really like to speak for other parts of the state. That's for sure. But they're like, people in Washington County will never oppose fracking. It's like, we're at the DEP hearing where lots of parents were saying, my kids got Ewing sarcoma cancer, a rare cancer, and they died. My children died in high school. And this is unacceptable. We're here to get answers. And, the Department of Health, it's like, we don't know. We haven't investigated fracking. Fracking is safe. I guess we'll do a study in 3 years, like all that.
And they didn't do that.
Yeah, exactly. It hasn't even started yet. So even the people in the districts that people assume are frack country. They like Washington County is the most fracked part of the state, the most fracked county. And even there's like a growing opposition to the industry, but the elected representatives they'll hold on to the industry until it dies, or they'll die with it, because they're taking so much money from the industry because there's no campaign finance limits in our state. There are no gift limits. You can give a legislator a car. There's so many oil and gas lobbyists in our state house for all of our representatives.
There's 203 oil and gas lobbyists for 203 representatives. I mean, that's just sick.
So even if 90% of the people in the district are saying that they want to stop fracking, just like in my district, that's the whole crux of my campaign. 95% of people in my district that oppose fracking, our representative supports fracking. That's it. It's a referendum on fracking. But even in the other districts, it's like everyone is taking money from the industry. And that's the problem. It's like the root of the problem. And that's been generations of Pennsylvanians, right? Coal, oil. Our state has always been an extractive colony, basically, for New York bankers. And we need to stop that. Like, I'm 30, my generation, the generations after me, like, that's unacceptable. Our state is like a top emitter in the country. We emit more than so many countries of greenhouse gases. It's just like, it's unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable. People are dying now, and people are going to be dying going forward. So we need to stop that immediately.
And also something that, people say, well, it can't stop because of jobs. A lot of people don't understand that these people come from like Texas and stuff to do the fracking and the pipelines. Because everyone I've ever talked to, who has gone to court or anything about their property being damaged or, their water being damaged, it's always outside companies.
The thing is, even if they were all from Pennsylvania, there just aren't that damn many jobs in the industry. That's the other thing. It's just bogus argument.
It's one of the many lies. Like, that's a big lie. Number of jobs, right? We saw Trump talk about the number of jobs. That number got blown up. It was like grossly out of proportion with the actual number of jobs. Another lie: fracking is used for gas, or it's used to reduce heating costs. It's used to heat homes. When we're fracking to ship that gas overseas to turn into plastics, the gas is being used for energy. Again, we're using the gas for plastics production in Europe, soon to be in Pittsburgh. We want to make the plastic here. Nothing to do with energy. Those are like three major lies. Also, that it's safe. That's the biggest lie. These kids are getting cancer and dying right now, and you're saying that it's safe.
Well, it's more than cancer.
Yeah,
it's more. I mean, people have problem pregnancies. People have heart conditions, and these are all fracking related. People have obesity even. I mean, there's a guy at West Virginia University that linked the ultrafine particles with fracking stuff to obesity. I mean, it's crazy. It's not good for people or planet.
And, when we're talking about the jobs, the reason we're having this conversation is because no one is offering any solutions, right? I mean, especially when both parties are taking endless money from the industry. There's no alternative because there's no interest in going to an alternative. But when we're talking about like, we need to stop this practice now, then what are we going to do about jobs? How are we going to take care of people? That's like the whole crutch of the Green New Deal, right? It's that we're not just going to take the jobs away. We're going to replace them. We're going to bring our economy to a regenerative economy. We're going to transition to renewables. We're going to get energy efficiency. We're going to weatherize our homes. And we're going to make sure these jobs are union and that either people are getting parachutes out of the fossil fuel industry or they're being retrained into the renewable energy. Like, that's a problem with our politicians. They have no problem dropping people on their ass. And that's the difference. That's the Green Party difference. That's the Green New Deal difference. No one is getting dropped on their ass because we care about everybody.
Yeah, we have a facility in Venango County. It was actually in Franklin that used to manufacture. It's called Joy Manufacturing. They used to manufacture equipment for coal mining. I had a conversation with Patty DeMarco. She's a renewable expert, whatever, university. What is she? Carlo? Is that where she's at?
She's a professor. She's a scientist. She's an elected official. She's written a book on a sustainable economy. Anyway, I was having a conversation with her about these folks at Joy Manufacturing, highly skilled craftspeople. They lost 600 jobs when Joy moved away. They used to manufacture equipment for coal mines.
I talked to Patty about that, and she said there's an ideal solution to that. They can make the exact same equipment and use it for storing, putting compressed air in old coal mines. So we could, a rich irony, we could turn the old coal mines into a storage facility for storing energy. So when the sun's shining, we're compressing air and pumping it into these coal mines. And then when the sun's not shining, we're releasing it. It turns a turbine and we get electricity. This is all stuff that we could be putting people to work. They've already got the skills. They've got the factory. Damn, why aren't we doing that? Instead, we lost those jobs.
It's because nobody's looking for solutions, right? Why would you look for a solution to replace an industry that's paying your bills, that's padding your pockets? That's a problem with our political system. Our representatives are having their meals paid for, their like expense trips paid for, everything paid for by the industry. Why the hell would they be planning an alternative, a way out of the industry?
And yet they wrap themselves in jobs.
Yeah. And you both are running against corporate shill incumbents.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guy, just to continue with the story Jay was talking about, we had a thing in Harrisburg, a lunch and learn. We had experts from Johns Hopkins, pediatric a doctor, a pediatric expert, talking about the effect of fracking on children. We had Dr. Ned Katire from Washington County talking about the cancer cluster in Washington County. We had Dr. Sandra Steingraber. We had a lunch and learn where we were invited all of the representatives, the senators to come and hear these experts, and we fed them. And I went to my rep's office and I said, Lee, we're having this lunch thing right down the hall. It was like 4 doors down from his damn office. I said, Lee, we're having this lunch thing. Why don't you come down and hear these experts talk about the dangers of fracking? And he says to me, oh, you know, I could find as many studies saying that fracking is good for you as you can find studies that are bad. And I said, no, Lee, wait, let's not even talk about that. Come down and hear about the cancers. And he said, oh, we got lots of cancers in Oil City. Yeah, Lee, we do. But if you look at who's contributed to Lee's campaign, it's just polluted with fracking and oil and gas, other gas things, transmission lines, energy transfer partners, you name it. That's who's feeding his campaign.
And I'm running against a corporate Democrat in the East End of Pittsburgh. So in the world of 50 like satellite politics, you would think that our representatives are miles apart on all the issues, right? But we're both facing longtime corporate incumbents who are taking money from similar places, and they're, they have differences on whether we should tax the industry. There's differences on maybe we should consider a transition, right? Which reflects differences in our district. But when it comes down to it, both of them are committed to fracking. Both of them are committed to fracking. Governor Wolf is committed to fracking. Both parties in Pennsylvania are committed to fracking. There are like 5 people in the Pennsylvania House out of 203 who are not committed to fracking.
And they are correct.
Yeah, they're new. Well, yeah. Maybe there's one that it's like maybe they're not committed to fracking. I don't know. Greg Vitale. He's been an environmental champion, but sometimes it's just hard to get them on the record because it's not even a question, right? No one is asking their representative if they're for banning fracking or not, because that's not even on the table. We're not even talking about a fracking ban. And that's part of the problem, right? How could we ever have it happen if my district, part of the environmental movement in Pennsylvania, 95% against fracking, our representative is still for fracking? How are we going to have that conversation?
Yeah, and cracking too, Jay. They're for fracking and cracking. But
my representative voted against the crackers, but it's like if you're going to vote for the fracking, might as well. Just like,
but then the opposite thing is, and you mentioned her before, and that's Summer Lee. I mean, there's somebody that stands up against her party, but she's standing up for her constituents. I mean, that takes some real guts, and she's done it. That's rare.
I would love like 100 of her, please.
I mean, that's why we're building the party, right? I haven't really said this, but it's like, look, if you elect Summer Lee, maybe you should elect someone who shares her policy positions over someone who doesn't share her policy positions, right? I mean, obviously, no one could recreate Summer Lee. Everyone is unique. She's a special brand of politician. But it's like, this is why we're building the Green Party. Our Green Party platform is that platform that we're fighting for. And we're building a political machine to elect hundreds of people who share our policy values. That's like that's the whole project. You know, that's the reason I'm in the Green Party, is because I want to elect more people who hold those views, the views that our society needs to survive like the next decade.
Yeah, that's the key, surviving. I mean, you know, Jay's speaking about his future survival. I'm in this for my kids and grandkids. I'm not going to be around when the worst effects of climate change show up, but those my kids and grandkids are. And yes, we need people to speak up for them. That's why I'm here.
Absolutely. And on speaking of that, I saw a comment that's a really interesting idea I want to run by you guys. There seems to be a faction of, okay, so there's DSA, there's Greens, and there's Movement for a People's Party. Do you think that there's a way that we can like get everyone to go into the Greens, or is there a way that everyone can kind of join and be more powerful as one?
Yeah, I can say our local Green Party of Allegheny County, we've worked with Movement for a People's Party. Many of our members are members of DSA. I'm a member of DSA. So we're definitely working together, but it's not a question, like, you know, the question is, will people leave the Democrats? That's the question that we're dealing with, right? People are saying like, oh, we can win some races if we stay as Democrat. And it's like, okay, now we found out all these things that come with being a member of the Democratic Party as an elected official. All these fees you have to pay, all these people you're supposed to speak to, you know, like all of those things. But my theory is that if we can build a political machine that can get people elected with the right policies, then people are searching for that. That's why Movement for People's Party exists, right? I mean, they basically have our platform. People are looking for this sort of thing, and people think that the Greens are not the way to get there. So if we can show people that the Green Party is the way for independent working class politics, people are going to be flocking. And you can be a member of DSA and the Green Party, right? It's like DSA is just trying to do the tactics that they think is working. And if we can show them that the Green Party is working, they're going to be signing up. And we see that in Baltimore. We see that in San Jose. Some of our best candidates, we see that with Lisa Savage in Maine. They're Greens that are endorsed by DSA, and DSA is loving it. It's like, wow, I'm like, everything is in line. The policy is in line. Independent working class party is in line. No corporate money. You know, it's like, that is the dream. It's just a matter of, it's an organizing question, right? Organizing is hard. Democracy is hard. Those are the questions that we have to answer before we can get there. I mean, in terms of Movement for a People's Party, look, if Movement for a People's Party gets the formula and does everything, then I'm sure a lot of Greens will join them. You know, it's like their platform is not the same as ours, though. They don't back reparations, right? That's a major, I mean, you know, racial justice is an important part of our country's legacy that needs to be accounted for. And I looked, and it didn't look like they backed it. So, you know, that's a problem for me. Maybe that's not a problem for everybody, but I couldn't join a group that doesn't support reparations. But we can work together. We're trying to build a coalition of all the socialists in Pittsburgh, all the left groups, the, you know, black separatist parties. We're trying to build that coalition, and we have great relationships with all of them. It's just like a matter of not being full of ego all the time, right? We're down to support their event, and we don't have to put our logo on it. We don't need to be marching in front of their march with our banner. We can show up and support and fight for the causes together. And, you know, we'll be friends. We're friends, right? And we go to the bar together, and that helps a lot too. So I think we have a great like ecosystem here in Pittsburgh. You don't see it on Twitter. Everyone is constantly fighting on Twitter because they need to get offline. They need to knock on their neighbors' doors.
That's Absolutely. One thing I got to give props to Jay. I mean, the Allegheny Greens, and a lot of it is Jay, are doing a lot of hard work. I mean, they're reaching out. They're getting themselves involved with other groups. I mean, Stop Banking the Bomb and Black Lives Matter. It's wonderful stuff. And that's what we need to be, the Greens or whoever. We need to be the party of the movement. And we need to be doing the hard work that Jay is talking about. We need to be knocking on doors. We need to be working as good allies. And I see that happening really in Allegheny County. It's a lot of good stuff going on there.
And when I say knocking on doors, I don't mean knocking on doors to try to convince them to vote for you and then disappearing for 4 years, which is like what politics looks like right now. I'm talking about knocking on a door, listening to them, coming back to that same exact door, the same person, and giving them the tools to organize their community, their apartment building, their workplace. Not just like, oh, you gave me your vote one day every 4 years and like that's enough. That's not enough. Like the powers that we're fighting against, corporate powers, are so strong, and we need to organize the working class if we're going to actually fight them, to build the power that we need to fight them off.
I think that's something that we're both coming from a place of community organizing. So I think that's probably the strength of both of our campaigns, is that we are used to not campaigning. We're used to building movements. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, that makes all the difference. I've interviewed about 200 candidates since 2018, all progressive, all Bernie crowd, all Greens, all, anything like that. But the best ones are always the activists, always, because they've been in the movement. So now that's who we need elected. We need us elected, not politicians. One thing I did want to ask you guys, I did have Lisa Savage on, and she's wonderful. One thing that she has that we don't have is ranked choice voting. I know that a lot of Greens are totally all supportive of ranked choice. What do you guys think that would mean for the Green Party and for candidates if we actually acquired that?
I know Jay has a strong opinion on this because we've already talked.
I have a slightly new opinion. I mean, I'm excited for proportional representation. Ranked choice voting, I mean, for executive races, that's good. But when we're talking about the legislature, which we're both running for, has to be proportional representation. But I will say ranked choice voting is a breath of fresh air for our party. It allows so right now, the way first past the post works, we get punished for doing well. Suddenly, like everyone is like, oh, the Green Party is like got 30% of the vote. We need to shut the Green Party down. When in ranked choice voting, it's like, okay, the Green Party got 30% of the vote. We can build off of that momentum. So just like a little bit of oxygen to breathe on, because like the voter suppression, the ballot party suppression is so aggressive in first past the post. It's like, it's unreal. So I don't think it's like spraying on what is it, like lighter fluid on the fire that the Green Party is right now. It's just like allowing some oxygen to get in and not suffocate our party, because first past the post suffocates anything that's not in the major parties. Everyone's saying like, we think your party should not exist at all and that you should primary a Democrat. And it's like, are you kidding me? My party is completely different from the Democratic Party. Like, we have actual values and policies that we support. Like, we have a vision for the future, and that vision for the future is very out of line with the Democratic Party. So why the hell would I run as a Democrat?
No, you elect Dems and you move them left. Duh, guys.
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. Didn't you know that?
Well, let me jump in at this point, because I was one of those Dems for 42 years. I ended that abusive relationship after Obama was elected, and I saw that, all that baloney that you were just talking about, moving them from the left was just that, a bunch of baloney, because hope and change turned into more of the same. So yeah, that's.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'll say right now, like both Michael and I are running one-on-one races against incumbents, right? In heavily gerrymandered districts. Maybe, I mean, they're actually not the worst gerrymandered districts in Pennsylvania, but like they kind of make sense for who's living there. Pennsylvania has a serious gerrymandering problem. Maybe our districts aren't the worst. Anyway, we are able to be given a breath of fresh air to fight so hard in our campaign and be supported by people actually, instead of ignored completely, because we're running in a one-on-one race. Like, if we're running in a more like purple area, and the only reason Michael's area is not purple is because the Democrats have completely given up on his area, right? So, and Republicans have completely given up on my area. They're just like, we don't really care about those voters. So ranked choice voting would not help us in our race. I just think that there are so many races for the Green Party to take on, And so many of them are unopposed that we could pick and choose our battles right now, and we can build the power to force changes in our electoral system. Pennsylvania is so hard to change anything because for us to do something statewide, like the way we've been able to get ranked choice voting in other states is through ballot referendum, and that does not exist in Pennsylvania. It has to pass through the legislature first. So gerrymandering reform, that had more co-sponsors than it needed to pass the bill, and yet it still didn't happen. Like any sort of electoral reform is going to be forced by power and not through advocacy. It's not going to just happen. Legislators are not going to vote themselves out of office. So we need to build power. And I think ranked choice voting, it allows us to hold on to the power that we built, but it's not going to build that power for us. We're going to need to do the same thing to build power regardless of the electoral system. And we can start doing that right now, even without ranked choice voting.
Yeah, and to build on what Jay said, 37% of this year's 203 House races are unopposed. 25% of the, I can't remember what the number is, 25, 25% of the 50 Senate seats are unopposed. And they're not all 50 running. I don't remember what it is. It's like 20 or so.
A lot of people are unopposed in our state.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's across the country. It's sick.
And those are ways that we can actually make an impact, because what I'm finding in Butler and Venango County is that folks are so used to losing that they don't even think that they can win. I mean, the Democrats gave up this time. There's no candidate running. It's hard to convince them that I even have a chance. But that's what we have to do. We have to start giving people alternatives, and we need to fight like hell to do it.
And one of my criticisms of our party is that we get overly focused on just the election as a game. It's like a video game where we just need to score more points, when the elections are a reflection of the organizing and power building that we've been doing on the ground, right? The way most elections are run, it's like a marketing campaign. Like who can get the most clicks, who can get the most views, who can get the most impressions before the ballot box, in like a way that kind of changes people's mind. But we need to organize our people into organizations that they're gonna last regardless of what the campaign cycle is gonna be. It's not gonna be like a progressive campaign here, withers away, it all disappears except for like the donors and like the content, like the temperature of everybody. What it is all of those people that we engaged in my campaign, in Michael's campaign, now they're organized, they're on the streets, they're fighting, and they're gonna vote for whatever green candidate is, no matter what the seat is, because we are, organizing as working people.
Now, do you have trepidation as far as how votes are going to be counted? Do you think Greens will get the 5% this time, or do you think they're going to be screwed again? Because I don't know if Jill got it last time, but I think she got more votes than they said she did.
I'll say I'm worried about write-in votes. That's been a cause of concern in the Green Party of Pennsylvania. Like I'm on the steering committee, and every county does their election system in a different way. So we've been like calling up every single county office, being like, how do you want us to write this damn thing down? Because we know if we don't do it the way you want, you're going to throw this vote out. And, Pennsylvania, a lot of those elections have been like Wild West elections. So we hear about people are say like the voter fraud that Republicans are talking about doesn't exist. But yet we know in precincts in Philadelphia that our state house candidate, the elected officials there were convicted of voter fraud because they were telling people not to vote for the Green in the polling place. They were convicted. So like, we know that we get screwed because we are weak, right? That's why we get screwed. And that's another reason we need to build power, so we can't be bullied anymore. So that's one concern I have, is just the write-in votes not being counted in every single county. I mean, there's a lot of counties,
True.
The good thing is, though, that we do have 3 statewide candidates, and if we can get 5% in any one of those, that makes a difference too. And I think a lot of times people will split their votes because they feel guilty for voting for, like, say, Biden, and so they may end up voting for our Green. So we may get 5% there. I don't know. We'll see.
Can I make a plug here to write in Howie Hawkins and Angela Walker instead of writing in Bernie? Like, I know a lot of people are thinking about writing in Bernie, but definitely write in Howie Hawkins and Angela Walker.
I'm writing in Bernie. I did in 2016 and I am again this time. And I'm not a fan of Howie, to be honest, but I love me some Angela. But I think what I'm going to do is put Bernie and Angela or Bernie and Nina. I haven't decided yet, but
what do you think
definitely
about this
voting
vision
for
that we've been
Biden.
presenting about the Green Party? I think it's like a little unique, you know. I think we talk about the Green Party here in Southwest Pennsylvania a little different than how the Green Party is talked about in other parts of the country. So let me ask you this, Joy. Like, what do you think about this, or, you know, outside of just a campaign, we're trying to build an organization, you know?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I've voted Green before.
Mhm.
You know, Glover, my buddy, I voted for him and everything like that. It's just, as this is the last time I can vote for my man, and
Mhm.
I'm writing him in. Like, that's, to me, like, the second he announced and said he was running again, I'm like, I'm writing him in again. Like,
Mhm.
it just, I moved to Iowa to campaign for him and
I
volunteer
heard
for him.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, this is, I have a tattoo. Like, this is my movement. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I'm not questioning your vote decision at all. I would never ever do that. I'm not even like, you know, you're decided. I don't need to push you at all. I'm just talking about, like, this is what I'm trying to get Greens outside of thinking about is race to race to race. We're talking about building a movement. So, like, I'm asking you if you're interested in our movement. You don't have to vote for our movement's figurehead or representative at the
Oh
time,
yeah, no,
but you
I'm
know,
like,
like, go.
I
We're
get the
going
green
forward.
emails. I've been to meetings. Oh yeah, totally,
The Green
totally.
Party is going to continue long past November 3rd. And, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
I think people sometimes forget that when it comes to electoral politics, that there's a day after the election. Because for most campaigns, there is no day after the election. It just disappears, or it doesn't mean anything. Back to brunch, right? That's not the case
Mhm.
for us. That's not the case for an activist party.
And I guess I want to make the pitch too, and that is, you know, a lot of you Bernie folks are going to be looking for a home after you say this is the last hurrah. Well, you got a home. Let's come on over.
And we have to build
I
that
think,
home together. Like, no one's going
yeah,
to build
I
the
mean,
home for
I
you.
think I think after 2016, like, many burners went green after that shit show. But yeah, I agree. Um, what is something that you want to leave with our viewers, so that, well, first of all, and also give your Twitter and website. Oh, Mike, I did want to say your website is ridiculously well, like, thought out, and like, you are so descriptive of everything, and I was so impressed. Like, as an English major, I was like, wow, like, he is really, like, analytical and philosophical. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. So I'm just going to say that.
Thank you, but I do want to give a shout out to the team that was assembled with the help of Jay Walker. Yeah, I got an amazing team. They are doing a lot of that stuff. I'm being dragged kicking and screaming into the 21st century. But yeah, I agree. It's amazing. I do some of the work, but that's not, I didn't do the website. That's for sure.
The thoughts are his. The thoughts are his.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you want to leave with, with our viewers, as far as something for them to take away, as far as if they're in your area to vote for you, or if they know people in PA so that they recommend you, and also even something that, a lot of us feel like complete defeatists lately. What keeps you guys going?
Well, if you live in PA 64, which is, like I said, the 5 northeastern townships of Butler County and all of Venango County, or if you have friends in that area, let them know that there is a choice besides the corporate choices that they've had over the years, that we are fighting for jobs you can live on, government you can trust, water you can drink, healthcare is a human right, civil liberties protected and expanded, education that's educational. So yeah, we're there. We're not going to be corporate stooges.
I guess for me, I'm trying to get people out of thinking campaign to campaign. Like hero to hero, we're always trying to latch on to the next hero to save the left, to save our movement. We are the ones we've been waiting for. There are no heroes. Our political system puts people on the pedestal and makes them heroes. And we need to build our independent organizations to fight the corporations, to fight capital. That's really what we're fighting, is capital, the wealthy who are making all the decisions in our country. And to do that, we need to build independent organizations. We need to do tenants unions. We need to unionize our workplaces, cooperatives. But in addition, we need to have a political face of that. And that political face cannot exist inside the Democratic Party. It has to be an organization that believes in all of the things that we believe in, that fights for all of those things, that stands with labor, that stands with cooperatives, that's interested in grassroots democracy. We need to build that organization. And to do so, people have to join the Green Party, and people need to get to work, because it's work. Democracy is work. That's why people like to give their agency over to corporate leaders, is because then they don't have to do any work. But we need to put in the work ourselves and organize. That's my final message. Join the Green Party, organize with us, especially if you're in Pittsburgh. I don't care if you're in your in my district or not. Join our Green Party, because we're fighting, and we're planning for next year. We're planning for the year after that. We have we have 10 years, right, until the IPCC report, until we run out of time for climate change. So we need to start right now, because no one else is going to steer the train in the direction we need to go in. And I guess everyone should donate $5 to my campaign and Michael's campaign, because that's how we pay for the paper that all of our volunteers, we have a lot of volunteers, give out to everybody at the polling place.
And why don't you give your website and your Twitter?
Yeah, my website is jtingwalker.com, and my Twitter is jtingwalker. My Instagram is jtingwalker, and I'm at facebook.com/jtingwalker, which is my full name.
Awesome. And yourself, Michael?
I'm going to give you my website. Everything else, you can just follow the link. It's Mike4, FORPA64.com. The only difference would be the Twitter account's Bagdis Canning. Everything else is pretty much the same thing, just a different combination in there. But it's go to the website.
Wait, my last takeaway. We need to get off Twitter. The left needs to get off Twitter and start talking to their neighbors. That's what I've been pushing on Twitter all the time. That's my final takeaway, is let's get off Twitter and let's organize our communities.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Can't wait for this shit to be done with. We can get out. We can be marching again. Oh my gosh. I can't wait. That first protest without a mask is going to be freaking euphoric. It's going to be amazing. Thank you both so much for joining me. Thank you to my girl, Jenna, for recommending you guys. Best of luck to both you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Wednesday night, I have Benjamin Dixon. He does a YouTube show. He's pretty rad. So he'll be joining me at 9 p.m. Eastern. Still have my interview when Pat and I were on Nina Turner's podcast. That's coming up shortly, hopefully by the end of this month. And I have some other cool shows coming up as well. Dr. Dooley will be coming back, and she's fabulous. So thank you guys again for watching. And if you want our new book, it is savageandpat.com. It's a parody book about politics, and it's about shitlibs like Alyssa Shalano and Nancy Pegosi and all those fun people. So thank you all so much for watching. And once again, best of luck to you, Jay and Mike.
Thank you. Thank you, Joy. Thanks, Jenna. Shout out.
Yeah.
Definitely.